Hey Dallas, how are you?
Hey there, good to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you. How are things going? Are you filming today? Are you on a break?
We are done filming season five, and now it's editing season five, finishing up Best Christmas Pageant Ever, and writing season six.
So what do you do in your free time?
Oh, that would be really fun to explore sometime.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can't wait to see Best Christmas Pageant either, and season five, of course. So,
Oh,
uh,
good.
appreciate all the good work you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
I think the big news is season four coming to CW, and it just continuing to expand the Chosen, continuing to hit more and more viewers. And this is this show, as you have said before to me, started out very simple, and it was not the intention to kind of uh, take over the world like it has, but yet it has. So, how does that feel as it's coming on to CW?
Yeah, the cool thing about being on the CW isn't the numbers. We were able to see that last year when seasons one through three played on the CW, that the ratings were very high and the numbers actually went up as the seasons went along, which is pretty rare. It's not that it's on national television, which is a cool thing and not something that I had, anticipated when we first did this show. It really is about the fact that um, a show about Jesus, about the Gospels, that is unashamedly giving the message of Jesus and his teachings, and including the parts of the story where he says I'm the way, the truth, and the life, or the parts where he's saying I'm for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, whosoever believes in him should not die but have eternal life. That those things are everywhere now. They're on Amazon Prime, they're on Peacock, they're on the CW, they're on Netflix, they're on the cover of TV Guide. They're in places where you wouldn't normally see such explicit Jesus portrayals. And that's really exciting. I used to care a lot about that. It used to be what I sought. I wanted legitimacy and affirmation in the mainstream. And when I stopped caring about that and gave all that up and just wanted to focus on telling Jesus stories in whatever form that they took, whether it's biblical or a story like Best Christmas Pageant Ever, um, that was became my focus, just honoring God. Now to see that the more explicit and the more Jesus focused I got, the more actual mainstream attention that there's been is really cool. It's really cool how God works. And I still am not motivated by it, but I'm still excited when it happens because there are people seeing the stories of Jesus in a world outside of just the church or outside of a one department of a bookstore. So the CW is just another great extension of that, and we love the CW. Brad Schwartz, who's the president over there, has become a good friend and is a big, big advocate for the show. So it's really exciting to see them pushing it out to their audience.
Do you see that kind of as as you're talking, I'm thinking that's almost as a fulfillment of the verse, if I be lifted up, I'll draw men to me.
Mm.
Um, that is creating that viewership or that, the crowd or the interest in it. Would you say that you're presenting an authentic Jesus unapologetically and it's connecting with people just like you did back in the day, actually?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I mean, look, I've stopped trying to analyze or guess what would result in each of the significant things that have been happening. I think it just can be easily boiled down to God. When God has something to say, he chooses who hears it, and he chooses um, uh, to break down the walls that typically are built up. We see that all the time with people with special needs, like nonverbal, neurodivergent people. Their parents will tell me that it's the only show their kid will watch, or that the only thing that they'll understand. And I'm like, well, that's not something I'm responsible for. Clearly, people in other countries, other languages, other faiths that for some reason are exploring more because of this. And I think it's just as simple as God has something to say, and he wants it heard. and he'll break down those walls. So it's a very comfortable place to be in to know I'm not responsible for it.
But yeah, and you have a really good team around you that have kind of helped bring this message. If have anything you want to brag about your team, I think you've got some real people who've caught the vision and they've just helped you. They don't seem to have gotten in your way, but they're just coming alongside you and taking and running with it.
Well, I would put it as I think they do such a great job that I'm not getting in their way. I uh, am frequently moved when I am on a all staff meeting like I was yesterday on Zoom, or when I show up to set and I'm seeing things happening that are awesome that I not only wasn't didn't tell them what to do or wasn't part of it. I didn't even know was happening. That people are taking the ball and running with it, and so I get to just focus on what I do best and get to the fact that I get to trust my team both in our company and in our production crew, which are two different worlds. And that I can just go, wow, I'm just gonna focus on writing and directing and occasionally giving some vision, but far be it from me to get in the way of what they're doing. I'm seeing social media posts from the Philippines or from India, and I'm like, I didn't even know we had a social media team over there, and I'm like, oh gosh, well, how I get to be educated on what the team is doing, and that's so cool. So, yeah, it is really moving, and I'm very grateful that I don't have to take credit for things, or meaning, but by that I mean I'm happy to not take credit for things because I'm happy to go, gosh, these guys did this, and that means that shows that they're passionate and that they care about what we're trying to do here and what God is doing, and it's a really great place to be.
Great. Speaking of social media, one of the things that I think about when I think about The Chosen is kind of your offbeat promotions, sometimes how you amplify the critics or whatever and you respond to them or whatever. Is that part of your personality? Is that your kind of your sense of humor? Do you direct that a little bit?
Yes, for sure. I mean, we've said from the beginning that two things. One, our number one value is going to be authenticity, and that's true in the content of the show. Meaning we're trying to portray an authentic Jesus. We're trying to portray an authentic first century. Everything we do within the show is going to try to be as authentic as possible. We said, let's make sure that that's a value across the board. And what that means is that even in our social media and our marketing and our communication to the world, it's going to reflect a personal touch. It's going to have a personality to it. We're not going to be, we use the term markety. We don't want to sound markety. I don't think people want to sound like they're being marketed to, and that there was some uh, uh, panel of people or some lawyer or whatever who scripted something out. So part of our personality is a sense of humor. We don't take ourselves too seriously, even though we take the work seriously. We're not negatively impacted by criticism. We don't care what people think, as long as we believe we're honoring God. And so that's one of the reasons why we have fun with that. This is why we engage sometimes, is it's fun, and I think it sets a good example to others to not take yourself so seriously that you are hurt or that your decisions are influenced by the winds of response. We proudly tell our audience, you don't actually influence the decisions we make, and they're actually good with that, because when you're telling a Jesus story, if you're trying to please people, well, you're going to compromise in areas where you shouldn't compromise, and there are plenty
Right.
of TV pastors who are happy to do that, and that's not us. So it's just a subtle way of communicating that we're not only are we not influenced by critics, we can have fun with it.
Yeah, yeah, and I like that too. It always uh gives me a chuckle.
Well,
Um,
and we hide their names too. Like, even though they went public, we don't make them more public. We're not trying to be
right.
personally
Yeah.
insulting. We don't get too mean. It's just we just have a little fun with it. We hide their names so it doesn't feel like it's a personal attack.
I know you've seen that one where it says, come, get the worst cup of coffee one woman on TripAdvisor ever had in her life or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah,
love that kind of humor.
yeah.
Um, when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of faith entertainment at all. So anything that came out, I flocked to. There was an old movie called The Judas Project when I was growing up. I was like, okay, I'm there. You know, anything that had anything to do with Jesus, and it was few and far between. So when you were growing up, what were the pieces of entertainment or Jesus uh, depictions that that kind of you held onto or latched onto?
Well, there weren't many. I mean, whenever I give my influences, I don't think faith-based content is usually included because, like you, when I grew up, I grew up in a pretty conservative house and we didn't watch a lot until I was older, but it was like Saturday morning cartoons, you know, uh, Beverly Hillbillies reruns. I mean, rated G
Yeah,
movies. Occasionally at church, there'd be a movie that the Billy Graham Association had made, or I mean, but I remember The Hiding Place. I saw that when I was young, and that was like, ooh, that was about Christians.
yeah,
Chariots of Fire, same thing. Um, I think Jesus of Nazareth for sure was that yearly tradition where it would play around Easter. And I do have memories of watching that and being impacted by that. The Chosen is different, obviously, than Jesus productions in the past, and I think one of the reasons for it is because I'm filling a gap that I experienced. I didn't see too many depictions of Jesus that felt human and authentic. The Passion of the Christ, obviously, an exception, but again, that was a unique kind of project. So, but Jesus of Nazareth was certainly one that I remember that felt it's one of the few projects that uh, positively portrayed faith and Jesus or biblical, any kind of Bible depiction um, in a positive way, but also felt like good art and high production value. And it stood out because most of the other stuff was so low budget and cheesy that you could even tell as a kid, like, oh, this isn't as good as all the other stuff.
yeah,
So that's different now. I mean, nowadays, movies and TV and the faith world are starting to catch up to the music world because music was always a little bar behind, but music started to catch up. So yeah, a lot of it's a response to what I missed out on growing up. And so when I hear from kids these days how much they love The Chosen, I'm like, oh, that means everything because when I was your age, I didn't have stuff like that.
yeah. Thank you, Dallas. I appreciate your time always. Keep up the good work.
Cool.
All right. Well,
Cool.
thanks, Dwayne.
Thank
Always
you.
good to talk to you.
Good to
Thanks.
talk to
Bye,
you.
Dwayne.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, guys.